Kelly here again. Near the end of the Tour de Fleece, I had a small disaster strike. The conrod joint on my Ashford traditional spinning wheel, which is made of leather, broke. Luckily, it was the very end of the tour and I had spindles to spin on, so I wasn't dead in the water, but I was in the middle of plying. So instead of ordering a new leather conrod joint from one of the online vendors, I decided to make my own. The reason for that is because it's just a small strip of leather. Here's the one off of mine that broke. As you can see, it just snapped right in two. What happened right before it snapped was it just got harder and harder to treadle, and then suddenly, pop, it just came right apart. So I looked online, and the price for the conrod, the joint itself, wasn't very much. It was between $2.50 and $4.95 depending on what vendor, but the shipping was more than the item. It was $4.95, $5.95 depending on, again, where you got it. So I'm like, it's a very simple item. It's not something complicated. It's not something highly engineered. So I looked around my house. I had some leather strapping that was too thin. It wasn't wide enough. So I ended up today going to Michael's Crafts because I knew they had leather items. And I got a bag of leather trimmings, basically what do you call it, scraps, essentially. And it was a bag full for about $6.95, and I used a 20% off coupon for it. So for less than the price that it would cost me to order one online and get it after shipping for just one of them, I got a bag of several leather pieces that were about this size, and there was multiple appropriate pieces in that bag. There's a lot of littler pieces that I can't use for that, but I've got enough leather to make several conrod straps, joints. So I'm going to show you what I did to make my own. Basically, I knew when I got the wheel, mine was made somewhere between 1983 and 1989, and that's why it has the leather joint. The newer ones that were made after that, they changed to a different material. I think it's like a silicone or a plastic one. It's kind of a little tube. So you may or may not have this particular kind of joint. If you do, here's what I did to make my own. When I originally got the wheel, I took the conrod joint off so that I could take a look at it, check out what it looked like and whether I needed to replace it, because it's a used wheel. I'm at least the third owner. And so when I took it off, I thought it was just a very simple piece of leather. I traced a pattern so that I could, if I needed to, make my own later. And it ended up I didn't even use the pattern. What I did was I took this off, put it back together, and just set it on top of my leather on a straight edge. So essentially I put it back together, set it on the leather, and then traced around it with a pen. So I'm going to do that right now. I have an edge here, right here, if you can see it, that is a straight edge on this particular leather strip. And I'm just going to trace, yeah, you can't hear me like that. I'm just going to trace around the old piece of leather directly on my new piece of leather. And then I'm going to, inside the little holes where the screws go, mark that as well. So when that's all done, my piece of leather looks like that. To cut it out, I used these scissors, which are the Tim Holtz scissors, craft scissors. They are Teflon coated, they're made by Tonic, and they will cut through just about anything. I love these things. So if they're the sturdiest scissors, they will cut through anything, they keep their point, they clean off really easy, so if you get something gooey on them, you can clean it off. And you're not using your good fabric scissors on something like this, which is going to dull them. So don't use your fabric scissors on this. So then I'll just cut. And I have a little rectangular strip of leather now. For the holes where the screws go to put it back in your wheel, you've got a couple of options. I have a crocodile, which is a big, really sturdy hole punch, and normally I would use that because it's really easy to punch through anything they're really strong, but unfortunately I took it to work to loan to someone and I don't have it back yet. So next best thing, I have an awl. It's a very sharp metal awl. Be careful with this. Be careful with the scissors too. Basically, I just took it, stuck it in one of the holes, and then just kind of do that for a while to get the hole through it. Once you've got the awl stuck through, then just kind of work the hole bigger. Be very careful not to stab yourself with the awl. You want to work a good sized hole because as the joint goes, it's going to press against that spot on the leather, so you want something to where it can move around a little bit. Ideally, I would have used the crocodile and punched two holes side by side so it looks something like the original. And I may do that when I bring it home. We'll just see how this one wears. So once I have that, I'll do the same thing with the other side. And if you want to, you can work on it and make those holes a little bit bigger by poking the awl side by side. So just where it is, get right next to it, poke right next to the hole you created, and then just work it back and forth. And again, be really careful not to stab yourself like I just really did. Alright, and then once you've done that, you have your new joint. Install it in the wheel. Basically, on my wheel there are two flat head screws, so I just unscrewed on each end, stuck the joint back up in there, screwed one on, screwed the next one on, and then tested to make sure it worked, and it did. So for the price of one of these from Ashford, you can get a bag full of leather and make several. So I hope that helps somebody out there.